Good afternoon, Elizabeth.
Good afternoon, Jay.
How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
How was your week so
It
far?
was good. It was good.
Work as usual?
Yeah, work is just same old.
Same old.
It's pretty quiet at the university right now, so
Okay,
it's not too bad.
that's good. That's good. Well, you here today. Thank you for coming. This is the Certified Christians Chat. This is episode 12.
Oh.
So yeah, it's been a good journey so far. It's a privilege to really have you here, and we'll just get straight right into it.
Awesome. Sounds good.
So my first question for you today, I know that as Christians, there are certain situations or circumstances in life that things might not really pan out as we want to. When we get to those points, how do you stay spiritually consistent or disciplined during seasons where it feels like God is really quiet and not really answering your prayers?
Yeah, I feel like as Christians, there's like life isn't meant to be something that's always like up, always on the on. And I found that for myself, I've had to kind of get into a mind space where I'm like, it's not only for the good times, right?
Okay.
Like, it's not to be performated. I'm not only like singing and shouting hallelujah because like I'm getting promotions every day at work, or like, you know, I'm getting a car this week or something, things like that, right? So I think for me, it's just like God feels silent, but he's not actually silent, right? I'm a very big like person who kind of likes to say that, sleeping and waking up is God showing himself to us, right? Like me going to work, coming back from work is God showing himself to me. And so I think just being confident in the fact that right now we're going through a season, that doesn't mean like it's very easy to kind of disengage that my life is ruined, something's not working, why do I need to read my Bible, why do I need to pray, I'll just hustle instead, or whatever. So I think having like making sure that like even in seasons like that, we're not praying only when we need something or only in the good times. We're trying to make it like a lifestyle. We're trying to make it like, this is how I am every day, good or bad. My word feels like it's ending today, I'll pray. If my word feels like I'm on top of the world today, I'll pray. And so so I think for me it's I really come with a mindset of like life is not going to be rosy all the time, but even in that, I choose God, I choose my faith, I choose to continue to believe. And like I know that, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, there's a rainbow at the end of the sky or whatever. And yeah, so I think for me, like you said, like life isn't easy, right? It's not always going to be like rosy and everything, but trusting in God, right? Not choosing that silence as like abandonment or like, oh, God has deserted me, let me go find something else, right? Like just almost jumping into conclusions, forgetting what God has done for you up until this point. And so yeah, I think for me it's kind of in a roundabout way, but I think making sure that I have that lifestyle of prayer, I have that lifestyle of reading my Bible, going to church, serving, not just like when I'm happy or like I'm in a good mood, making myself go out and continue to serve, continuing to read my Bible, no matter the season of life is a way to, and like when that time comes again, I'll praise, I'll shout hallelujah. And then it's the cycle of life after that.
True. And I mean, me personally, I think there's certain, it gets better over time.
Yeah.
Right? When you were younger, probably situations whereby you trusted God for like maybe an exam, like God, just let me pass this course, please.
Yeah.
Or something. Or just little situations that God came through. And then now you're getting older, you're faced with more bigger challenges, I find. And it's all an acclamation, just the beauty of faith, right? The higher you go, the bigger the expectation, right?
Yeah.
The more closer you draw to God, the bigger the responsibility. And to handle that bigger responsibility, you need to have a bigger capacity.
Yeah.
And it's through the situations that God really tests our faith, and our faith is being built, right? So I think for people that are going through tough situations, know that God is truly there for you. And a more practical way is to have people like other believers around you too, right? And I know the go-to thing for most people when they're going through tough situations is to isolate. I have friends that like, we used to chat, all of a sudden just quiet. I'm like, what's happening? I was like, oh, I'm just going through something. I'm like, bro, you could
Share.
have said something,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you never know. Even maybe I could have helped in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
A little prayer is so encouraging, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to all come out all at the end
Yeah.
victorious, right?
Yeah.
And there are people whereby in that your isolation, you might actually even turn away from God, or maybe go to eat to certain things that you would have not needed to if you had been in the safety of the multitude, right? So no problem.
To touch on that,
Sorry,
just to also like, I feel like our problems are only as big as we see them in that moment, right? When I was like 12 years old, me getting an iPad probably, me not getting an iPad probably, you know what I mean? Like, or like, oh, imagine being in GS3 and like I was stressing about like my junior work and felt like, oh my god, this is the biggest exam I'll ever write in my life, right? So I really feel like sometimes we tend to like, and I know I have to like, you touch on isolate. I feel like sometimes I get the tendency to do that because like I can be very like not narrow-minded, but like I can be very fixated on like what's happening right now.
Okay.
And so sometimes I have to force myself to, even just in the last 5 years, I remember sometimes I'll have like sleepless nights where I'll be so nervous for an exam. And like sometimes I'm telling the story to friends and I don't even remember what it was. But I remember that like I would wake up like palms sweating, like I was so nervous, like everything just felt like it was falling apart. And like now it's like 3 years later, like I remember how I felt, but I don't even remember what the situation was, right? That has kind of passed. And so like you said, bigger responsibilities comes with like bigger challenges and bigger like needs that you need to like face those challenges. But I just feel like as long as we like this is not like, nothing is the end of the world, right? Like
nothing is new too.
Nothing is new, exactly, right? Like so many situations where I just kind of held it to myself, and then like later on I talked to a friend and they're like, oh yeah, I've gone through this, and like I did this and this and this, and I was like, oh my god, this could have been avoided, right? So I think really tapping into your community. Like I know I always say this, but like my university like life, I am an international student here.
Okay.
And I remember my first 2 years were COVID, so it was like online. Best time for isolation. I was like struggling in like school. It was like computer science, like everything just felt like, how am I going to survive in this, right? But then I always feel like even my brothers or like anyone who comes and like, oh, I'm starting university, what should I do? I'm like, really please tap into your community, like make friends in classes. Like once I like resumed the in-person classes and started making friends and like talking to people, like I loved my degree by the end of it, but I definitely didn't love it at the start of it, right? So better is the end of the thing than the beginning thereof, right? So I think really not looking to what is right now, but looking ahead, looking past that, and like hope for the best. If you can hope for something, why like think the worst? Why not hope for the best, right? So just
thank you so much.
Sure.
Thank you. For my next question now, I know there are times whereby we're learning so much about God, but it just seems to be so many questions too, right? The one of which we come to have. Would you say questioning or like deconstructing your faith is a sign of unbelief, or is it a point whereby everyone just comes through and they're just trying to genuinely understand what exactly we are believing in?
I don't think it's a sign of rebellion.
Okay.
I think you almost kind of answered my answer with the second part what you said there. I think it's like it's getting to a point where you start to know God for yourself. You're not taking it like, for example, I'm Christian. I was raised Christian. I was born in a church. It's been like my way of life, my part of life. That's what I've always known. So I think getting to a point where you're starting to have questions, or like you're starting to be like, wait, can I understand this, this, and this, and this, is not a sign of like rebellion. Instead, it's starting to like go away from like, well, this is just the thing my family does, and like starting to like recognize God for yourself and like know Him for who He is. I know my brother recently with my mom, he's been having like lots of these questions and things like that. And so sometimes we'll just sit together as a family. My mom would like open up her Bible, my dad would pigeon as well, and just things like that. I think it's a very slippery slope though, because I have a minor in philosophy. So I'm like, I had to do a lot of like big world thinking, or like, deep questions. Is there a God? Da 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 da. And it would have been very, very easy to kind of fall into a rabbit hole where it was like, I think, yes, it's not a sign of rebellion, but like you also need to look within yourself on why you are asking those questions, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, actually, I want to understand. Is this like is like what I've grown up learning actually true? Is this God that I know true? And it's another thing to want to already get out of it and then start asking those questions, right? I think if you're like coming from a place of I really don't want to go to church, I'm just looking for like ways to like justify not going to church, you're gonna find answers that will support what you already kind of believe. But if you're coming from it from a place of like, I want to know God more, I want to like understand this, and like, so if someone asks me this question, I'm able to like, explain like my process to them as well. Then you like, you go to your pastors, you go to your parents, you seek answers in the Bible. You will not like, oh, I'm very logical, I'm trying to like explain everything. And I think even also accepting or coming to a point where it's like I have gone through that where it was like I had to come to a point where I'm like I can't get all the answers. So it's like we want to like get an explanation for everything. But I think coming to realize that for me, trusting God, even in not knowing all the answers or even in not being able to explain the exact science of the world to a T, is a part of that faith, is a part of starting to know God, starting to have God for yourself. So yeah, I think I wouldn't say like my jerky reaction wouldn't be that, oh, it's like you're rebelling, like you're not trying to. And I think sometimes as like maybe Nigerians, we tend to have that. I know my mom and my brother first asked that question, she's like, oh, so you don't want to do like just tell me like if that's what you want to do. You already like seeing things outside, right? And I had to be like, mom, calm down, like this is why he wouldn't want to ask you these questions, right? Let's sit together instead, explain to him what you can, tell him to believe God for the ones that you can't fully explain. Yeah, so sometimes you tend to like, oh, I know what you are, you're trying to leave church. But I think for like first things first, seeing where they're coming with from the questions, understanding yourself while you're asking those questions. Sometimes I ask you a question and you tell me an answer, but I'm like, no, why didn't you say this? I already had an answer I wanted, right? I was just asking those questions to like for reaffirmation for myself. So if you know where you're coming from, if you know you're doing this to know God better, to actually understand and not like get out of stuff, then I think it could be a sign for you to like, it could be a way for you to like really deepen your relationship with God. So yeah.
Awesome, thank you. I think I know for people that tend to question things, is also to be in the middle ground too, right? Because relating to the previous question, whereby when those tough times actually come, is what exactly you have on the inside that really comes out, right?
Yeah.
All those times of having faith, it becomes very practical.
Yeah.
That okay, I know that at some point there was a man called Abraham and he was trusting God for a child, and God told him he would have a child. He didn't come immediately and he had to wait a little bit, but eventually God's testament come, right?
Yeah.
So when you are coming to a point whereby you're trusting God for something and God has shown you or told you that, don't worry, you will get it.
That's
right?
Yeah.
You have something you can relate to that, okay, well, if that's happened before, it can happen again. There are stories, there are perspective of people, and also, like you said, back to the community too, right? Asking people questions that, okay, well, I'm going through this, and this is what I heard, this is what I'm doing. And people can say, I have been through that situation, and God saw me through, right? So let us pray, and then I'm pretty sure God will also see you through, right?
Yeah.
But you have to just trust, be patient, understand that there's a reason why you're going through this season. It's for God to do something in you, right? And to build that faith or whatever it is he's trying to do. So whatever it is, maybe he's even trying to kill something, right? Maybe you have pride or something, and God's like, okay, bro, calm down. It's me that is in control, right? Stop trusting in yourself. And so he might put you in situations whereby now you know you don't have a choice but to come to the Father, to come seek his own invoice, right? Yeah. But I guess it's also on the onus for the church and the believers to be patient with such people. So when someone comes with a question, just to why is this, why is that,
Yeah.
not just brush them off as, oh, I'll start there.
Yeah,
I'll start backsliding.
yeah,
I'll start
exactly.
backsliding, right?
Yeah.
And then come to learn that, you know what, it's normal.
Yeah.
It is very okay to question everything that you believe,
Yeah.
but come to it. I think what we just need to be careful is that, you know, like you said, sometimes we have answers already in our heart, and we're just asking questions to try and test.
Yeah.
Not like Pharisees, but trying to just test Christ and let's see if
Yeah.
you really have stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully through our own examples, we can be good examples to those people when they come that, okay, I understand this what you're going through, but guess what? I've been through the same situation.
Yeah.
And here I am today.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord. Right. Awesome. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
That was really good. So my question for you now is that what does it mean to be set apart or to be consecrated as a believer, right? Is that something that is just for everyday believer? Everyone is expected to have that personal relationship with God or that personal consecration? Or is it only a certain type of people are meant to be like, oh, you're a pastor, you are meant to be this, or everybody's actually meant to be consecrated?
I think it should be something that everybody
Okay.
is aspiring to be consecrated. Of course, it's like there's varying levels of strengths, and like, you know, in your day, if you're a pastor, you probably are more. You have more time set aside, let's say, for prayer, like to meet with people, compared to if you're like a regular believer. But I think it's quite important for everyone to be and for me, I don't even see it as like it's special, but I don't see it as like something that's like this separate thing that we have to like place on a higher like standard. It's like in your lifestyle, right? It's in like the world we're living in, right? We've been having conversations about this, but I think just being able to, once you know that you've accepted Christ as your Lord and personal Savior, there's certain things that you shouldn't like be doing anymore. There's like certain ways, like certain adjustments to your lifestyles that you should be like leaving, that isn't just for your pastors, right? Okay. Like it isn't just for like the ministers at church. I think it's a very slippery slope, because once you have it like, oh, pastors and ministers are the only people expected to behave a certain way.
I see.
I don't know if you see what I'm getting at, but then it starts to almost be like, oh, well, then they're perfect Christians. Yeah, everyone else can do what they want. Like, they're the perfect Christians. You have to look up to them. Like, and then it also leads to judgment on their part, right? They're also not perfect. Of course, they're like, God has placed them in a higher position and everything, but if you're not kind of setting them aside, away from, putting them on a pedestal, then you almost kind of can get a little weak, like wonky. Yeah, that's set up. So I think, like, you know, encouraging everyone, like, of course, like, pastor should not be in the club, but that doesn't mean that I'm a, like, not that, like, there's conversations around that, right? But just as an example, like, places your pastor shouldn't be in, because your pastor shouldn't be there, doesn't mean that, oh, he's already doing the work for the church. I mean, I think I'm fine. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a minister. I don't serve in church. I'm fine, right? So I think it's a lifestyle that everyone should be like endeavoring to like live. And of course, they will live it like maybe in a way that you haven't gotten to yet. So you learn from them, like you kind of look up to them, but like not in a way that's like you're trying to make them gods, or like now they're like the figureheads of like the church, and like, you start to worship them, or like if they do something wrong, then you're like, I don't believe in God anymore. How can my pastor do this, right? If you like see them as the beacon of like all that is good, all that is right, if they mess up and they're human, they might, then like that starts to affect your personal faith. But if you're like consecrated, if you're like living your life for God, with God in your daily like to-do life, even in a world that's like crazy and everything, then I think in moments when like things come up, you already have a personal relationship with God, then you might be a matter of, okay, do I need to change in a church, or like how do we approach this with like the ministers? Can even be
a support system for them when they're
exactly right. Like we're all human at the end of the day, so I think it's like Christ is a journey, like living with Christ is a journey that everyone should, you know, live it together, and like we should be supporting our pastors. I really like you know, like when we pray for pastors after preaching, and like, you know, we're like, I mean, the oil never runs dry, right? Exactly. Stretch your hand for them, right? So even that is like a way of like supporting them, not to like make them like this separate thing from like the rest of us receiving the word, but like as a way to like also be that support for them, because I can imagine that the pressure
It's
It's
about
pretty huge. I don't
to
wanna.
always be like 100%.
I don't.
There's no
Yeah.
slip ups and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think one thing that also lately, I don't know, for some reason has been in my head is also understanding that as a Christian in certain places, even that sometimes you can't even really joke about things, right? No, sometimes it's just a joke, right?
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
but then you understand that what I would say or what I would have said can people are not just looking at me as just a normal person anymore.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, this person is a Christian. He says a Christian.
Yeah.
Automatically, there's an expectation. So, you yourself, you need to carry yourself, and it's the same thing like pastors too,
Yeah.
right? They come to church.
Yeah.
Maybe some things. I mean, they are human too, right?
Yeah.
They get angry. But they cannot. They cannot like flare up. Or they
Yeah.
cannot show, and
Yeah.
sometimes it might become performative,
Yeah.
which is what we don't want to.
Yeah.
It should become a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
But you're still human too.
Yeah.
And we should show grace.
We're each our own little ministers in our bubbles of influence, right? So who knows who's looking at you and like,
True.
life is so good. Let me ask her, how God this, right? So if you're leaving like, oh, it's just my pastor, that's my figurehead. Who knows how many people you're not leading to Christ with the way you act personally, right? So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank
Those
you.
are really amazing answers.
Thank you.
Thank you for my last. Oh, that's not one question.
Yeah.
For my last question is just more of a personal testament
Mm.
to probably a certain situation in your life whereby God really came through. Something significant that you're like, only God could have done this, right? That you'd be willing to share if it could bless somebody.
Yeah. I think maybe I'll touch a little bit more on my like kind of immigration history.
Okay.
But I graduated high school 2019. I
Okay.
was gonna like start up in university like the September of.
Okay.
And in the months leading up to that, I was gonna go to the US. And I had multiple. I already kind of had like a little bit of history, but then when it came to, I had admissions to school and everything, and it was like all well and dandy. Like I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to start school in September. Like it's fine. And then it came time for me to start having interviews with like the consulate people or whatever. It was nothing. It was like rejection after rejection. I had to. Well, it wasn't exactly a gap year, but like it really, really, really affected. Like it was like I did it in like Lagos, Nigeria, and then that didn't work. I went to Abuja to try it there. It didn't work. It was just like we thought this would be like a pretty straightforward like thing. What's happening? My dad was like, "What are you saying in those interviews?" I was like, "That is not me. Like I don't know what's going on, right?" And so it was just always something after another and after another, and like this was a period of time where all of my secondary school like friends were like starting university in September, and like everything like it felt like now that the world was moving. And it's like I think, like you said, we touched earlier, they don't give you a reason. It's just like, oh, bye. And you just have to hope for the best and try again, right? So it was definitely like a very, very trying, like I would say almost season. Like I even had to like, I just went to university in Nigeria as well. I started up there just to not be at home because like I was like, please, I cannot be home anymore. Everyone's like, celebrating like almost first year and all of that stuff. So February I went to like a university in Nigeria. I just started off there. Come to have it, COVID started actually. So I did like a month in the university and then I had to go back home for like COVID and everything. And this was like 2020 beginning. And then it was like, oh, I don't know, maybe it was like friends of my parents or like I decided, oh, why not try Canada as well? But at this point, this was like so many rejections on my plate in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
It was even like every other place would see you kind of as a liability, right?
Yeah.
And so I remember like my parents still say this story all the time. Even for like the US one, we're using like agents and like we were like having so many people's hands on it and like, oh, can you help my daughter this and this? And so I think at that point in time I'd had so little faith. Like I said, I started university in Nigeria. I already told myself, hey, I don't even care anymore. Like I'm just gonna stay here, whatever it is. If I want to do my master's after the fact, I'll do that. And then I remember like, they were like, just try Canada. And in cases in the US where I would have paid people to apply for me for schools, it was just like I told my like, just don't worry, like I don't really have too much faith, but like to fulfill all righteousness, I'll just apply to a couple of schools, right? So like if people are calling, we won't say we didn't try. And so I remember like applying to like a bunch of schools in Canada, like by myself. And like now it's easy for me to say that, but then it was like I was new to this internet and like computer thing, right? So I remember applying to like a bunch of schools by myself. I started getting admissions from them. It was like, oh, okay, like okay, this is the first step for September that year. And then of course I got admission. I was like, okay, we already have admission. Why not try applying for a visa? And then again, of course, would have paid people, gone to agents, double, triple checked everything. But I just told my parents, nah, it's okay. I didn't even know why they let me apply by myself. Maybe they also didn't have faith in before. But I applied by myself. And like, I remember like during the application process for trying to come here, it was like, I was doing it by I don't know how I did it. Like I just kind of did it solo and like I just did like the bare minimum. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Like I was just like, yeah, God, at this point, if it's your will, it will be. If not, like it is what it is, right? Like I remember like the morning after I applied, because like there's a thing where you apply and then you have to like, do like letters of explanation to like prove that you're coming back, da 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 da. But I remember when I applied, like just the documents they requested, I just gave that and nothing more. Like I was like, I'm not gonna explain. I remember calling my friend the morning after I applied. She was like, oh, so what did you write in your letter of explanation? I was like, what letter of explanation? And then I remember going downstairs to my mom. Like I say this so vividly, I'm sure she remembers. She was like, I was like crying that, oh my god, like why did I even apply? I just messed this up. I didn't like submit a letter of explanation. Like of course they're gonna deny me that, and especially with like all my history so recent, right? And I remember my mom just being like, no, it's like toasting, it's like fine, like God is good, that doesn't matter. They still give people even without that and all of that stuff. And that's the period of time where it was getting a little difficult. This was COVID period too and everything. But yeah, glory be to God. I got my like I truly believe that it would have been God at that moment in time. Who knows what would have happened if we had used like agents, if we had called this and this person, and whatever the case might have been, I might not have gotten it. It was just God who, like, decided that, okay, you know what? So I want you to know that it's not by people it's not by being the perfectest thing that you can be. It's really at the end of the day by my power and by my might. And then ever since then I've been here, graduated. I've come out on the other side of that journey. I can look back at it now and like really see how God was good, God was faithful, and that really like taught me, again, it's not the end of the world, right? Sure. It really felt like, oh my God, you know what? I had all these big dreams, but that doesn't mean anything anymore. I'm just gonna be here, but God still, found a way to show up for me. And even like again with like my job, I'm a really big person on like what's it called? Connections and stuff like that. So I really thought like, well, I can only get a job if I know someone who works in the company and can like refer me, da 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 da. And I remember when it was time for me to like get an internship, and it was like I was calling everyone I knew. Oh my God, are they like hiring people in your company? Can you drive me? I would tell them, I applied. Can you like reference me? Da 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 da. And it was like 5-6 months. So it was like nothing. And it was starting to be like, I thought I couldn't get a job without someone referring me. I thought that was like the system here, where it was like, you need to know someone to like do anything. Sure. And then I remember the day I applied for my job at the university, like I just saw it was like a thing of, I don't even know anyone in the university. I see the university as like almost like a government job, where it's like you still need to like in. Yeah. And so I remember being like, I don't even know anyone. The ones I knew people, I applied, no one called me. What would they say here? And I remember I was watching a show when I applied. I was just like, you know what, let me just apply. Let me just fulfill all righteousness. I'm applying, Shaf. True. And then I remember just applying, and it was just like, just by the wayside. And then the week after I got a call, and then, long story short, I've been at the university for almost 3 years now. That just one leg in has really like helped and like catapulted me with like, being able to just kind of work myself and like establish myself further. But when I look back, I never would have thought that I could get a job, start off by myself. Well, it wasn't even by myself, but like, without knowing someone. So I think again, this is God reinforcing that, it's not by your power, it's not by who you know, it's not by like who can like, put in a word for you. So at the end of the day, it's by, God's power, God's grace. So God is continually reaffirming that to me, I think. And like some situations where I'm like, oh my God, I need to call this person. I need to like know, or like I need to present the perfect version of myself, or like the perfect application or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think like God has shown me time and time again that like He is who He says He is. And like, whatever He says He will do, regardless of, if you know someone or if you know no one. So yeah, I think, that's like a very big very big moment that has stayed with me that God really showed through. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. That was
Yeah.
really beautiful. I think that's the beauty about God. Whatever situation or circumstance you are in, He can make do with it, right? There are people that you may feel like, oh, I'm less fortunate just because of the circumstance or situation, or like the premise. Maybe I don't know anybody, or I'm just here by myself. I don't have family, but I assure you, God can still make do with that, and He can still come through, right?
100%.
That's beautiful. We do serve a faithful God.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Yeah, of course.
We've come to the end of our podcast.
Thank you.
This is episode 12 again. It's been a big privilege. Thank you for coming to share your perspective and your dealings with God, right? And I've pretty much given a testament to how good He has been, right? I find it a big privilege to have people that are going through pretty much what is going on in life, and are still able to choose God, but irrespective of the circumstance they're going through, right? I think in this generation that we're in and where we're going to, knowing God it's a really big thing that pretty much determines. I mean, it does determine your life, but life is just things happen so sadly that the necessity for God maybe isn't a big determinant anymore as it used to be. People are coming to find other things like, what's the point, right? If I can do this by myself, if I can just do this what do I need God for, right? And the necessity of God is starting to get questioned, right? But thank God for the grace and the fact that God has been able to enlighten us and open our eyes to see that, you know what, there's really nothing out there, to be honest. There's nothing the world can offer that God can even do better, right? He has the best plans for us. He has good and the best of the best. Even after this world passes over, there's still more to life, right? And thank God we have that understanding and we have that reference for God. So thank you so much.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Big privilege. I'm pretty sure at some point, maybe later in life, we'll have another discussion again. All right. Do have a great rest of your week.
Thank you very much.
Bye.